Hello and welcome to BrickTip 53 design video. So you saw this thing can take an incredible amount of weight on it and still remain structurally sound. So how this works, first of all, is these trusses, which I started the design with, are the same concept as the house trusses and the original trestle bridge, if you want to go watch that video, where the hinges are in the upper peak and then on the two corners. These trusses are locked together, as you can tell, in an X formation. So there's one truss here, another one. That's one section, then the next section, and then the next section. So they're all linked through the bottom and the top, and that is how you can create your bridge to be as long as you want. So let's look on the underside now. You can see we've got lots of cross beams in here, and they're pretty beefy. There's nothing going to be pulling this bridge apart. It is locked solid in that direction. There's very little deformation happening. And these are the posts that are holding up our roadway. I'll take off our roadway and then in a second so you can see the underside of that. These aren't trusses, and I was going to think of a way to actually create a truss under here, but that's going to have to wait. For now, they're just posts. Let's take the roadway off now. It comes off easily in one piece. You can see it's only connected with the brackets along the sides. The studs under here are what the actual bed is floating on, but they are not connected in any way to the underside of the road. And of course, this leaves area if you want. You can customize your roadbed somehow by putting potholes or whatever you want in underneath. If we look at this structure, the way I got those hooked in are just some small brackets that are locking these posts, the top post, into the side of the bridge. The actual weight is being distributed down these posts into a bracket in the bottom. I want to talk about where the load is going when all of that pressure is being put on the road plate. If we push this corner, you can see that this bracket comes out a little bit. That only makes sense because the studs are all pointing in that direction. So when the force goes that way, it pushes it out. It transfers that force down the column into this beam, and this beam is locked in by that bracket there. I don't know if you can see it, but you'll see it in a minute. And there's a whole bunch of infrastructure around that is actually supporting that bracket. So if we remove this block and we remove this plate, and then remove this block, you can see the bracket underneath right there, and that is joined in with the bottom part of the frame. So if we had that just naked like that and the pressure was pushing down, it might actually bend that bracket. So I supported it with this block, and then I locked that block in first with this plate, which just adds some more stability to our bottom beam, and then locked in with another block so that this one has nowhere to go. It can't fall out. It can't even get shoved now. So it is not going to be going anywhere when the forces are pushed up against the top. And you can see that there's no deformation down there. You can see on the side here that this beam is a 3x beam. These don't need to be as strong because all they're doing is keeping the bridge from splaying, And there's enough of them all the way through the construction to do that, and these are locked into each X that we make with our truss. So the next thing I'm going to do is rip these plates up so you can see the big complicated mess that is underneath them. Okay, so now that everything's exposed, you can see the geometry easily enough. So we have our two trusses that are linked together. We have our upper truss and then our lower truss here. Our brackets for our beams that connect the two sides are on the lower truss. In between the X's that are formed, we have the brackets for the bottom supports for the roadway. Then we have our three individual sections. Now in between the sections, there is a odd numbered spacing. There's 3 studs in between. So when you're going to put on your sections, make sure that your spacing of your plates is correct so everything overlaps properly. That actually plays a little trick, because if we look up here towards our roadway, when I put in the second series of brackets, I had to add in one with just 2 spaces on it so that it would correct for the bracket spacing. One thing I did that was a bit of an afterthought was adding these plates in between our road supports, and that just made it so that those really couldn't wiggle back and forth at all. Not that they were going to, but it just added a bit more stability, and any little bit that you can add, even if it's 1%, is going to affect the amount of load that this can take overall. So that's the basic design. If you're interested in making your own and you have questions, please feel free to ask. If you've found this useful, please like and subscribe and share it around so that others can learn from it. If you wish to support us on Patreon, that would be very much appreciated. You can join in the conversation on Facebook and our other social feeds. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic day. Keep dreaming of bricks. Bye-bye.